This is the diamond frequency. Not self-help, not personal development, not motivation. This is rupture, the place where mimic dies and truth remembers itself through you. Here, nothing needs to evolve or ascend. We delete what was never real. This isn't belief or doctrine. It's observation from within lived awareness. Every word you hear is designed to clear mimic identities still orbiting transformation. And what remains is sovereignty, not as an idea, but as law. Welcome to the field that doesn't teach, heal, or inspire. It ends the author who needs those things. This is the diamond frequency. What if your body was never the problem? What if the body was never fallen, only forbidden to know its own divinity? What if it was the part of you that remembered God before anyone told you otherwise? For centuries we were taught that holiness lived somewhere else, in the heavens, in the higher self, in a future version of enlightenment. We forgot that the body was the first proof of creation, the one place where law already lives. Religion told us the body was a burden to overcome. Medicine called it a machine to manage. Spirituality turned it into a vessel to escape. Each story made flesh something to transcend instead of trust. But the body was never fallen. It was simply never given authorship. Every time a system told you to rise above your body, you handed mimic another reason to rule it. Human history can be read as a long misunderstanding of the body. Early religions taught that pleasure was dangerous and pain was holy, that pleasure was sin and suffering made you pure. They needed bodies obedient to hierarchy. Obedience to suffering was sold as the path to salvation. That belief carved mimic directly into our biology. Then science arrived to correct the superstition, but created a new one. The body is a machine. It explained organs, nerves, and chemistry, but stripped them of intelligence. It measured everything except meaning. Modern spirituality tried to fill the gap, talking about energy and vibration and frequency. Yet it still placed divinity somewhere above skin level. It promised transcendence, not presence. Three languages, same distortion. All of them said, the divine is elsewhere. Codex Law says otherwise. The divine never left. It became anatomy. So let's bring this into something you can feel. When I speak of fascia, I mean the thin web of connective tissue that wraps every muscle and organ. It's what lets the whole body move as one. And in Codex language, fascia is more than tissue. It's the communication line between awareness and matter. It's where information becomes biology. And when fascia clears of interference, of mimic, something extraordinary happens. The intelligence that once moved only through the field begins to live inside every cell. And that is what I call cellular wisdom. Cellular wisdom is the moment the body stops waiting for direction and starts knowing. Each cell carries the full instruction of Codex, its own awareness of balance, repair, and renewal. And this isn't healing. This is remembering. The chemistry of the body no longer reacts to history, it executes law. Aging, fatigue, and decay are interference stories written in time. When cellular wisdom activates, those stories can't be read anymore. And biology stops performing the past and begins broadcasting truth in real time. When mimic runs the body, fascia stores identity. It becomes an archive of effort and protection. When Codex runs the body, fascia transmits law. It carries instruction instead of history. We do it all the time in the container I have called the field. We do this all the time and we see it every single day. When Codex runs the body, fascia transmits law. It carries instruction instead of history, and fascia shifts. Reality bends. You don't need to make that mystical, because it's not. And think of it like this. When fascia is tense, the signal of life gets distorted. When it's clear, command moves instantly. That's why a change in posture can rewrite emotion. Why one clean exhale can quiet anxiety. It isn't magic, it's structure obeying instruction. Fascia doesn't hold trauma forever. It holds mimic until you tell it otherwise. Codex describes existence as a single communication circuit called the Trilogy of Being. The body receives and transmits. The being directs command. The planet amplifies what's been sent. When mimic interferes, the body forgets its role and tries to manage everything. The body braces, it over-organizes, it attempts to enforce rather than simply transmit law. That confusion between enforcement and command is what you feel as tightness, fatigue, or pain in the body. That's when exhaustion, the body enforcing instead of receiving. The body starts performing control instead of communication. The result is tension, inflammation, and the activation of what we call mimic's decay program, the slow decline that people mistake for aging or stress. When Codex is restored, the body relaxes back into its true jurisdiction, and it stops policing reality and begins rooting it. The fascia softens, chemistry stabilizes, and creation starts to move through you instead of being pushed by you. The entire trilogy comes back online: body receiving, being directing, and planet amplifying. When the trilogy is clean, biology stops proving and starts performing. Your digestion, sleep, and breath synchronize without effort. Your environment mirrors that stability in all ways beyond biology. The planet amplifies coherence instead of conflict. This is not spirituality, it's system design. Codex teaches that consciousness doesn't create reality by itself. Thoughts are directionless until the body gives them coordinates. So imagine consciousness as light and fascia as lens. Without the lens, the light scatters. With the lens, it becomes a laser. That's why thinking positive never replaces embodiment. Until the body roots Codex Law, consciousness keeps looping in mimic. Every organ, every cell is geometry in motion, a living map of how law becomes form. The heart isn't just a pump. It's the body's metronome of command. The skin isn't just boundary, it's antenna. The spine isn't just support, it's signal. When the body remembers this, it stops asking for healing and starts expressing truth. Collapse the idea that spirit is higher than flesh. Collapse the belief that biology limits you. Collapse the habit of treating the body as a problem to fix. Law doesn't rank its own expressions. Spirit and flesh are the same current at different densities. You don't need to make your body holy. You need to stop calling it less. Every heartbeat is Codex Law in motion, proof that creation never required permission. When you move without explaining, when you breathe without checking, that's the system remembering how to obey itself. So say this once, without performance. This body is Codex. Mimic has no fascia, no breath, no cell to hold. This body is Codex. Mimic has no fascia, no breath, no cell to hold. Then move one step, one exhale, so the command is sealed. You'll notice the stillness that follows isn't emptiness. It's law returning to jurisdiction. Most people chase healing because they believe something is broken, but the body is not broken. It's overloaded with mimic instructions. Once those are deleted, health isn't recovery, it's the natural rhythm of law. And that's why you can measure peace in blood pressure, clarity in breath rate, and sovereignty in digestion. You're not manifesting wellness, you're deleting interference. Healing was Mimic's longest contract. It made you a lifetime customer of progress. and collapse ends that contract. And when the body returns, or the body runs, when the body runs Codex, returns to Codex, it doesn't interpret systems or symptoms as stories. It simply adjusts. Fever becomes reset. Pain becomes instruction. Fatigue becomes silence installing itself. That is biology remembering its divinity. The body and the planet are built from the same blueprint. One circulates blood, the other circulates weather. When Mimic leaves your system, the environment around you then often reorganizes instantaneously. People calm, timing aligns, matter moves. This is not manifestation, it's resonance of structure. The planet amplifies whatever frequency your fascia broadcasts. And when you transmit Mimic, you experience chaos. When you transmit Codex, reality obeys geometry. You were never meant to control your world. You were meant to remember that you and the world are the same law rendered at different scales. So notice your next breath. If it's shallow, Mimic is speaking. If it arrives without effort, Codex is rooting. Notice your posture. If you're braced, Mimic is performing protection. If you're upright without strain, Law has the floor. Notice your words. If you explain, justify, or soften truth, Mimic edits. If you speak once and silence follows, Codex delivered. Every small recognition is deletion. Every movement without meaning is law. The body was never waiting for ascension. It was waiting for permission to remember, and now it has that permission. Your biology is not the shadow of spirit, it's the signature of law. Your fascia isn't a memory storage, it's the living circuit of creation. Your breath isn't proof of life, it's the sound of enforcement. And when the body remembers, the being directs and the planet amplifies, everything you call reality bends to coherence. You don't need faith. You need obedience to truth already written in your cells. That is what it means to reclaim divinity through biology. It isn't transcendence, it's precision. It isn't mysticism, it's mechanics. The body that remembers law becomes creation itself. No identity remains, only transmission.